Squirrels! So hello, and welcome to another Legends of Runeterra video. My name is Chris, and today we will be going through Aphelios and some Aphelios decks, as he, I believe, is coming out in 2 days' time, and so we obviously will get to play with him very soon. And I'm creating these decks. It's kind of a bit weird because, of course, a balance patch is also coming, so some things could be much worse, some things could be much better, right? We don't quite know yet, so this could all be subject to change somewhat. But I'm gonna go through some things with you and talk about some decks that I think are perhaps more fun. First off, though, let's talk about Aphelios, and let's just remind ourselves of Aphelios. It's been a while since he was revealed to us. Of course, Aphelios is a Nightfall champion. Pick a moon weapon to create in hand when you've played two of the cards. Create a phased moon weapon in hand. We'll get into that. Level up, you've cast 4 moon weapons, and then he gains quick attack, and it's the same thing, but his moon weapons cost 1 less, and he becomes a 4/4. So that's Aphelios in nature. Of course, we have to remind ourselves of these moon weapons as well. They are all 2-cost slow spells. The first one, or not the first one, you get a choice of 5. But the first one we'll go through deals 3 damage to target follower. There's one that gives an ally +1/+2 lifesteal this round. Stuns a follower and stuns an enemy, and if it's a follower, stuns it again at the start of next round. Gives 2/1 and overwhelm this round, and summons a 2-cost follower from your deck if it has Nightfall activated. And the phase means that basically the next time that you would get one of these moon weapons, when it says like here, create the phased moon weapon in hand, you're gonna get a choice of these two. So Calibrum will create these two for you, and they'll create 2 different ones, etc., etc. And you just follow the phases of the moon, right? So, with that said, we also have Gifts from Beyond, which is a 2-cost burst speed spell, which is create a moon weapon. Choose a moon weapon to create in hand. Now, when building these decks, I'm on Mobilytics, so of course I don't have access to quite putting Aphelios in, so what I have done instead is simply, Aphelios is represented by Tarek here, and Gifts from Beyond is Behold the Infinite. So if you just keep that in mind, that anytime you see Tarek and Behold the Infinite, these are the cards we are talking about. So Aphelios in all is a Nightfall champion in Targon that can, give you some extra tools to deal with a variety of different threats. He's quite complex because, of course, you have to be thinking about exactly what you want in the future potentially, as well as for the present. I'm not sure if we're going to get some added followers as well. It's very possible we could. If we do, I will go through them. It could be in the patch notes tomorrow. Excuse me. It could be in the patch notes tomorrow, and if it is, then we'll go through them then. It could be released in a video today. I have no idea. Again, if that happens, then I will, make a video about it. But I have some bad news for you. I have some really, really bad news for you, and that is, unfortunately, Aphelios' best decks, I fear, are going to be this one, which is Lee Sin Zoe, and you take out 1 or 2 Zoes and you put in 1 or 2 Aphelioses, and probably this one, which is take out the Dianas, put in Aphelios, and it looks the exact same, Targon Allegiance deck. That's the bad news, that I think that these two are probably going to be the best decks for Aphelios, which already exist, and essentially you're just subbing him in because he's a decent option within those decks, and it's not really that exciting. So I thought I'll spare you all the fact of going through, if you add 1 Aphelios to Lee Sin, in about a fifth of your games, you'll get this ability to do something decent. Like, yeah, I'm not going to go through all of that. Like, that's fairly boring. We're going to look at 3, new decks that Aphelios can help create. New. Some of them are like we're going to go through some new decks. So let's see what the first creation is. So this is the one I briefly touched upon. It is, of course, Aphelios. Remember, Aphelios is Tarek. Yasuo. Just a quick reminder again, Behold the Infinite is Gifts from Beyond. And what is the idea of this deck? Well, Aphelios, one of his moon blades is Gravitum, which stuns an enemy, and if it's a follower, stun it again at the start of next round. That's potentially 2 stuns for our Yasuo, of course, which gives him then the ability to, potentially level up and start getting there and whatnot. Yasuo also has a pretty cool synergy with Solari Priestess, because finding Yasuo is often, kind of important for Yasuo decks. You kind of need to do that, and if you can find Written in the Stars, then of course you will get a big Yasuo, which is very nice. But that is not the point of this deck. I know most people will have pointed out this synergy, but I think Aphelios, that this is a much more fun way to play the deck, and a different way than I've seen other people try to create this deck, and that is going kind of for an all-in Fae Blade Twirler version of the deck with Zenith Blades. Essentially, the idea is you play down Fae Blade Twirler, you give it Zenith Blade, it becomes a monster. Of course, you have a lot of stuns in the deck with Aphelios himself and Palm and Steel Tempest and all that. Potentially even the Infinite Mind Splitter. And essentially what you want to be doing then is getting these stuns, going crazy with Fae Blade Twirler's attack, giving Fae Blade Twirler Zenith Blade, and smacking your opponent in the face. Now you might think that's a little unreliable, but remember that Aphelios is going to give us, which one is it? It's here. Crescendum is going to summon a 2-cost follower from your deck, which means if our only 2-cost follower is Fae Blade Twirler, then of course we will only get Fae Blade Twirler, which means we can somewhat reliably get Fae Blade Twirler out pretty early on in the game and then start stunning and then go absolutely crazy. We have, of course, access to Notify and Deny as well for, when our opponent is trying to kill our Fae Blade Twirlers. We also have stuns, of course, so combat-wise, challenges, that kind of thing. It's going to be a struggle for our opponent to remove these Fae Blade Twirlers, and when we put that Zenith Blade on our Fae, we should be looking pretty good indeed. We have some, nice defensive options, of course. I mean, the stuns themselves are nice defensive options, but we also have Solari Sunforger and Star Shaping to help keep us alive and, make sure we don't get railroaded by aggro. And overall, I just think this is going to be a really fun, different way of playing. Fae Blade Twirler has always been a card that's had, some potential there. I think it had untapped potential for most of the game, and I think that this is a deck that can say, here's Fae Blade Twirler in all of her glory, go and enjoy it. And I think it's a different way that isn't a stun deck that isn't focused on Yasuo, which is another thing we haven't really seen before. And it's often why stun decks have struggled, is because they're so focused on Yasuo. But now with, Fae being kind of the focus of the deck rather than Yasuo, then we can potentially get into some pretty neat different things, because now, you can either go Yasuo for sort of a later mid-range game plan, or you can just go Fae and go crazy, hog wild, and win the game potentially that way as well. So, with that said, let's move on to our second deck, which follows a similar theme, but might be even crazier and even more fun. So this deck is Aphelios Bots, and this one is pretty spicy. So again, Taric Aphelios, Behold the Infinite Gifts from Beyond, and we are Targon P and Z with Zoe, and we're called bots because we're playing the bots, Assembly and Ballistic Bot. Now, why are we doing this? Well, similar kind of idea to Fae Blade Twirler. We're going to ideally use Crescendum to summon Ballistic Bot reliably. And then once we've summoned Ballistic Bot reliably, then we can go in for Zenith Blade on a big Ballistic Bot, because we have plenty of ways of creating new cards. The Moonblades are created cards. Zoe will give us created cards. Lunari Dustbringer gives us created cards. Spacey Sketcher gives us created cards. Chumbo gives us created cards. Gifts from Beyond, not Behold the Infinite, will give us created cards. Star Shaping will give us created cards. Essentially, we have a lot of different ways of getting that attack of these Ballistic Bots. Of course, Ballistic Bot himself will create the Ignitions, which will trigger the Augment as well. And a similar kind of thing is going on with Assembly Bot, where, we're going crazy with moon weapons. We're getting up this Assembly Bot. Essentially, Assembly Bot is acting as a secondary chance for secondary hit for Zenith Blade. If you really wanted to go full, deep into this, you could even put in maybe 1 or 2 Victors as well. If you love Victor, you could go for that. And he could become another Zenith Blade target as well. So there's plenty of things going on. We have the ability to level up Zoe pretty quickly, as we do have a lot of different names within the deck. So we can potentially give everything augment and then just go absolutely crazy, and maybe, you know, elusive with Zoe potentially as well. So there's a lot going on here, I will admit. And this is just, to me, this is like, you know, this crazy fun deck that you can do, and just, you know, essentially go all in on Ballistic Bot. And I think that that's just going to be really fun to do. And I'm really looking forward to playing this kind of deck. Because, you know, when you can, like, if you think about it, if you have Ballistic Bot in your opening hand and then you get Aphelios August from Beyond and you can reliably summon the second one as well, and then you can just start going crazy, and as soon as you find a Zenith Blade, it's like, well, good game. Because, of course, if you have 2 Ballistic Bots down and you play Zenith Blade with Daybreak, even if they remove one of the Ballistic Bots, you still get you still trigger the Daybreak, and you'll still draw the next Zenith Blade as well. So then you can just put it on the other one and, you know, force your opponent to have, like, 2 bouts of removal, right? And it... it's just going to be a lot of fun, I think. There probably are more competitive ways of playing this. You know, is Assembly Bot really the most competitive way of this idea? Probably not. But at the same time, is this really fun and stupid? Yes. And that's what we're here for, essentially. You know, I thought, let's just dive in. Let's just go full in for it, right? Yeah, so I'm pretty excited to play this deck as well and see exactly how this performs, because it's pretty stupid, but that's the way I like it. And so coming back into perhaps a more normal realm, a more traditional realm, we have Aphelios Swain. Now, Aphelios Swain has some really neat synergies as well, and we could talk about a different blade this time, which is the one I'm looking for here. Calibrum deals 3 to a target follower. Of course, is a pretty nice synergy with Swain. It'll help Swain level up, potentially kill a unit. Overall, it gets the thumbs up, right? This one we aren't going as in for the 2-cost, you know, summon. We do have House Spider as an option for it, which is a fairly decent option. And, you know, this is playing more like a traditional kind of Swain deck. You know, Swain shouldn't really struggle to level up in this thing. I do like Sunburst in this. I've always liked Sunburst with Swain because it's an effective removal tool for a lot of different things. And it, you know, halfway levels up Swain straight away. So I've always kind of liked Sunburst, and I've kind of always been surprised that it doesn't see as much play in Targon Swain decks as I think it should, because I think it's actually not that bad of a card. Yeah, sure, it loses to Deny, I can understand that, but aside from that, it's a pretty effective removal tool. I know it costs 6 mana, but, you know, if you want to kill like a 5 or 6 drop, yeah, this is probably one of your better options, because there's, you know, outside of Deny, there's very few ways to stop it, particularly if you have the Daybreak, because the silence will stop any chances of your opponent keeping it alive. And yeah, essentially it's just your kind of typical Swain, you know, Playful Leviathan, get Swain out, level up Swain, stun, you know, hit your opponent in the face. You know, maybe you could get some tricky things off with the Gravitum as well, right? Like if you stun an enemy and then it's a follower, so it stuns again the next round, and potentially have Swain on board, which allows you to then get an attack off with Swain. You know, if they only have like one unit with 3 or more attack, therefore, you know, they can't block Swain with his fearsome. So, you know, you can get off some nice tricky combos as well with that kind of thing going on, which is quite nice as well. Of course, you just have a lot of like good cards, like these followers are just kind of like really solid good cards. So, you know, this will be a pretty competitive deck. You can definitely win a lot of games against different things. You have like Scorched Earth to remove, you know, any Grand Plaza shenanigans if you wish, and, you know, Star Shaping will help you as well get into that late game, and then potentially give you a late game threat to help win the game as well. It's just a very solid deck. It doesn't need that much explanation, I don't think. Again, you know, this one's kind of one that I thought like, well, it's a bit, you know, whatever. And when Aphelios comes out and I can get it on Mobalytics, I will, you know, update all of these and put Aphelios and Gifts from Beyond in, and then, you know, I'll put the deck codes down below as well when that happens. So keep your eye out for that if you do want to play any of these decks, because I mean, particularly the bot one, right? I think this is probably what I'll be playing because it's so stupid, and, you know, I want to see a sort of, you know, making this as good as I can and trying to, you know, really really go off on some people, which I think will be fun. I mean, obviously I expect a lot of people will be playing Aphelios, and I hope that they don't just play Lee Sin with one Aphelios in there. I know there'll be some people doing that, but I do hope that that's not everyone. And maybe I'll, run into someone else trying something as stupid as me, like this ballistic bot deck. So thank you so much for watching. Get those Zenith Blades on those bots. And yeah, look forward for the patch notes tomorrow, hoping for a big patch, to save all of our souls and to, reinvigorate everyone's fire when it comes to this game. So thank you so much for watching. I've been Chris. Have a really nice day.